Alright, so what you just heard was my take on the Mattia Cellotto sound design contest. In this video, I will show you its building blocks and my thought process. I chose to do it synth only, so all of this is made within Faceplant. First, I just like to share my thoughts in general about these kinds of videos. It's often easy to sound professional, flawless and straightforward, and there are probably times when that's a good choice for your personal gain. That being said, it can be intimidating or discouraging for people that are just starting out. They will think that this is a standard. Because I don't think sound design is always straightforward. It's most of the time, for me at least, it's messy and experimental. And I think it should be. I'd also like to share with you what I found difficult and what mistakes I made and what I learned from. And when I experimented and so on. So here we go, this is my honest showcase video. Let's start with the ambience. So for the ambience, I thought it would be great to use like noise generators inside Faceplant, and that they would be perfect for this. So this is a bunch of noise where I experimented and I just put some random modulation on stuff like level and filters and stuff. Just as much movement as possible, and I think filters and just volume is great for that kind of stuff. I also have a flanger effect here and a shaper for a little bit of like bit crushy kind of sound, because it's kind of looks like a nuclear wasteland, I think, the scene. And so I wanted it to feel like something's wrong in the atmosphere, like these are not great living conditions, basically. Some delay, some reverb. It sounds like this. And I'll explain to you later why it cuts out like that. I also added a boom patch from Faceplant. This is quite standard. It's a sine wave with a curve, and basically it makes it into kind of like a sub drop and some distortion also. You know, I didn't want like a too obvious sub drop, but just a little bit to set the tone. Can be cliche sometimes, but I think it's fine for this. I wanted more flutter, more life, more movement to the ambience, so I added a noise flutter. This is like a noise riser patch that I ramp up to basically increase the intensity, so without the delay effects and all of that, it sounds like this. Really simple, but I wanted it to be a little bit more interesting or whatever, so I put timeless, delay, and then a frequency echo. It sounds like this. Just a little bit of movement. I also wanted more movement on the sides. So here's just two Faceplant patches that act as like side information. This one is panned all the way to the right, and this one all the way to the left. And the Faceplant patch is just like an old patch that I made quite recently, and it's basically just noise, crackly noise, and you have two different delays on both of them. So on this one there's a timeless, and on this one there's a delay. I really recommend delay. It's a free delay, and it's really powerful and just great. It's crazy that it's free, I think. So with that said, just alone it sounds like this. And together with everything it sounds like this. In the parent group here, we've got some volume modulation, automation I mean, and some stereo automation. And this is because I think that ambiences don't need to be just static. They can follow what happens on screen and to like signal to the viewer basically about what's going on, or that something's gonna happen. So in this case my ambience goes into mono. It goes from really wide to mono to make the viewer focus on the middle of the scene, to prepare them that something's gonna happen in the middle of the scene. Look in the middle of the scene. Nice. And then it just cuts off here in the end, because there's so much going on, you can't hear it anyway, so cool. Let's move on. So this is the ground debris foley and stuff, because the scene or the video has lots of like rocks and cliffs, and I thought it would be appropriate to hear some of those like rocky, crunchy sounds and like rocks and pebbles falling. So we got some like debris sounds here. This part was really infuriating. I sat a long time and tried to figure out like how to make rock sounds through synthesis, because I don't know, I just had no idea where to start here. And my mentor showed me this really cool trick where you take a sine wave, a normal sine wave, and then you modulate the pitch and the level with a noise generator, and it kind of makes this like really warbly, pebbly and rocky sounds. And this was just trial and error. I just tried different kinds of noise here, and in the end I think this one worked really good. Sounds like whetstones. Also here I added some on the side that I just hard panned, one left and one right. And of course I went into the patches here and just tweaked some settings and put this on random so that it doesn't have the exact same sound. So yeah, just some ground foley. And in the end here, when the earth like just shatters and the ground moves towards you and just like in your face and it turns black, it's like end of the world. So I started with this faceplant patch, and also here it's like really not, I just tried different of these built-in sounds and I put them in the granular. I've been using faceplant for like 1.5 years and I still like don't know what I'm doing. Or like I know like the theory behind like, okay, so how does synthesis work, or what does a granular engine actually do, and like what is a wavetable. Like I know those things, and I know how to get some results because I've done it before, and I know like what kind of choices I have to make a little bit to get in the right direction. But in this case I didn't really know actually what I was doing. I just tried different things and it just worked out for me, and I think that's how you learn this program. But it's I many times when I go into faceplant I don't know instantly like exactly what kind of knobs or effects or how I'm gonna go about it, you know. And it sounds like this without the effects. So yeah, just like the screws and the metal sound kind of like small rocks, and this rumble sound here with the granular, yeah, it kind of sounds like earth rumbling. I've modulated the pitch on this also. And we have some distortion that I automated so that it goes up in intensity at the end, just to like really like crush and distort the sound to make it sound, yeah, like something really crazy just like flew towards you. Here's a stereo. At the beginning it's really mono, and when it gets closer and closer you can see the width goes up, and that's because in the beginning it's really focused here in the middle, and I want the width to kind of follow that and also like simulate the feeling of the rubble just encompassing you and being like in your face all around you. Here we have some R bass. It just adds some more bass to the sound, and a really cool plugin called Submarine that I've been using quite a lot recently. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it basically adds like really low sub information, like the really oomph sound that you can't really hear it, but you feel it, and it's great for this kind of stuff, I think. And also a clipper in the end. So with the bass effects and the stereo effect, it sounds like this. So yeah, I was happy with that. Let's move on to the next. This is the pre-impact, so it's like what happens before the final like blow or the crescendo of the video. And we have some different sounds here. You can see they're like rendered files, but these are also sub-projects. So we can enter some of them and just look at them, but it's gonna be a really long video if we go through all of them. All of this is made within faceplant, of course. So here we have, I call it just a light, you know, the light ring around the orb. And I focus it like in the middle mono because it happens there. But I also have this other track with this light where I put a FabFilter Volcano in it, and it's kind of like a stereo-y effect, and also some reverb and some frequency shifter. And I think I have, oh no I haven't. So yeah, and the frequency shifter just shifts it down because the original patch was really bright. I can show you actually the patch for this. So basically what this does is that it makes it also a little bit stereo, so it sounds bigger. So without this one, but with this one it sounds like this. Cool, let's go into this patch and see how I made this really sharp sound. So this is the patch I use for the light sound. So the faceplant patch looks like this. So here we have a sample, male stacked harmonics, and some noise. So without the tape stop and all of this, and without the noise, it just sounds like this. And what I've done is that I've put unison and put the maxed out detuning, and I've shifted it like up, like, I don't know, just a lot basically. So it's really, really bright. And with the noise, just a little bit of dazzle. This noise gate, note gate, I mean, modulates the play pause button on the tape stop. So what it means is that when the MIDI is triggered, this will go from play to pause and then back, I think, when the MIDI stops. So it kind of makes the sound like, it adds the tape stop effect basically. It makes the sound a little bit more interesting, I think. With. Cool. And I added some, it's called fresh air, like just lots of high end and also lots of bite with sheps. And I added a convolver and just put the mix to maximum, because I think the convolver can really change a sound a lot. Basically make big changes to a sound and change it drastically so that you can maybe get a little bit inspired. And then a clipper, so it sounds like this, all of it. Here we've got like a little blip sound. Really simple. Yeah, it's a wavetable moving with a ramp and a curve and with a filter on it. I wanted to make the sound a little bit cutesy to make it contrast the final impact, which is really aggressive and scary. So just for contrast. We also got these sounds that I've made with faceplant. They're like a really glitchy, distorted sounds. I distorted them like really hard using the new Shaper plugin from Kilohertz. I've used it more than I thought, actually. It's kind of good, cool. Here we have the gurgle. I don't know, I call these types of sounds gurgles. And they're made using wavetable, where I put an LFO on the frame of the wavetable, and I just pitch the wavetable like really low. So, and then it makes these types of gurgling sounds, or like, I don't know, maybe a little bit low mid type of sound. Yeah, so this is just a wavetable, and it's also in a sub project. Here we have a delay. Oh yeah, it's for this one. So when it first shows up, it just kind of purrs a little bit. And then we have this is like the exact same sound as this, but I've just edited it a little bit. And I've panned it to the left and the right respectively. And then I've put the entire, these are in a parent track, and I've put the entire parent track. I've sent it to this side delay. So sounds like this. And you can hear the sound like goes down in a downwards motion in the end, and that's because I've added a frequency shifter to this, and it goes down. More motion, more life, more character. Here's another gurgle. I realize now it sounds really stupid, but that's how I call these types of sounds. And oh. Yeah. This one is just the same as this one, but I've changed the rate of it so that it's slower. And just a boom, like sub drop. And then we also got these, and these are assets I made a while ago for faceplant. So here's just like a riser. And I made this using the granular. It's like some kind of whoosh machine story. And this also, same story here. These are sounds that I've used for my own sample library, but these sounds are 100% made in faceplant, so I hope these count. And of course they have effects on them, like post-processing on them. So yeah, I also added the 2 kicks at the transients, or like at the, when the dot shows up and when the dot like grows. And there's also a small delay I got this really good feedback that since there are two cliffs here and it's also like very hard surfaces, the sounds would bounce quite a lot. So that's why I added the delay on the kicks. Here's also second boom. Oh my god. I didn't even realize it, but I have two booms on the entire thing. Oh well. It sounds fine, I guess. For the final impact, I started making the laser, and the laser is basically also a faceplant patch. It's a wavetable that I've put distortion, and I've also I'm controlling the frame of the wavetable using this macro, not even using this for anything, so I can delete it. Yeah, that's all it does basically. And in the scene, I've automated this macro so that here when there's like the second impact changes the wavetable, and then it goes down again, and then it goes up again. But as you can see, when it goes up, the volume also goes down. So at this point, you don't really hear the wavetable. Also, I have a saturator with some fuzz. So yeah, it's not a overly complicated construction. And inside here, I'm just like, you know, utilizing the fact that it's a synth still and adding some like tonality to give it more character. So yeah, why not? I'm not a musician. These are not like planned out notes. These are just, I just placed them out and I thought it sounded good. I started using faceplant like before. I'm not really a synth kind of guy. I don't own any analog synths, and I feel like lots of people that are using faceplant come from that background. I started using faceplant before any of that, so maybe my like perspective on on using faceplant is different. I don't know. It could be a blessing and a curse at the same time, I think. So it sounds like this. Really dark. Yeah. It's in the middle completely, but I also have another which is the same patch and also with the same automation even. I just duplicated this basically. I went in here and I added this spread, so the macro also controls like the spread. I added unison. I don't think this one. Yeah, this one has got no unison. So this one is for the side information to make the sound a little bit bigger, I guess. So without it, very centered, and this is like a little bit more wide. But it's still centered because this center pillar is so massive. It still feels like the sound is in the center and not like all over the place. This here is also a faceplant patch that I took from my library. It's kind of like a synth for like a sci-fi impact. So together it sounds quite cool, I think. For this, I've wanted to add like just more steps, more depth to this. I could just stop here with the laser. It also already sounds big. You know, that's also can be a great choice. I have lots of the time, I have a problem where I add too much, too many elements. I have to be careful and I have to like, how do you say, plan it a little bit better. I've added here like a compressor on the laser sound. So when this sound hits, it will compress the laser sound so that it makes space basically. So this is like very wide sound. This is also a faceplant patch, but I've put it in a sub-project. Here we have, again, this is the ground patch that I showed you earlier, but this time I just ramped it up and put lots of distortion on it, and I've exported it. This is also a sub-project file. But it's essentially the same patch that I showed you before with the ground. And it really surprised me, like it somehow kind of sounds like ground or like earth shaking. Here we have the electricity, because in the sound you will see there's like lightning going on here in the middle. Now the sound is really dark and it needed a little bit more high end, and the electricity is perfect for that. So this is faceplant patches. This is like a noise explosion, side information here. just sounds like that. It's got a snap hit module that it modulates the gain of the sound and the curve modulates the LFO. So at first it goes fast and then it goes slower and slower. And I also duplicated them and put them on the sides. So yeah, cool. This is just really like hard panned noise to kind of like signify the lightning strike here. You see the screen goes like almost completely white here. And this is the electricity. I made this using Faceplant. It's a sample I found. It's like really glitchy sounds basically. And together, all of this sounds like this. So yeah, add some flare and some high end. Together it sounds like this. Yeah, cool, let's move on. I straight up added a reverb send from the entire redesign or design. It's a convolver and I just picked the one that sounded kind of like it could be in a cliffy valley. And it's just layered underneath the other sounds. It kind of puts everything together. And I also added some risers just for anticipation. They're quite subtle. So the last part of this that I wanted to talk about is the signature sound that I put here in the beginning. Because after I got some feedback from my mentor and my friend, I was told that I didn't really utilize this first part. It was kind of like just ambience and the viewer is just waiting for the things to happen. It would be cool to have like something that would signify like the orb showing up. Something that would pique the interest of the viewer, because without it, it's just like ambience. It's just waiting around for something to happen. And I totally agree with them. And I think this signature sound really completed this redesign. So what I did here was I just took the laser sound, because it has like some tonality to it. And I thought, yeah, maybe that could signify the orb arriving. So I just took the entire sound from the laser and I put some stereo. I just made it like in the middle. Yeah, I'll talk about that soon. Put some EQ on it, and it just sounds like this. It sounds kind of stupid without the reverb. But it's basically the same MIDI, the same notes that are playing here as the notes that are playing in the laser. So I rendered it out into a waveform and put some ProR, just reverb on it. And what I did here is that I put the stereo width to 0 so that it's mono, because if it's too wide, then it's just like a kind of ambience-y sound. But I wanted it to be in the middle so that the viewer understands that they should look like in the middle, so that it anticipates that something in the middle of the scene is gonna happen. It's like something far away making this sound, or like heading towards us. And yeah, I was really happy with this. So with the other things, it sounds like this. Yeah, really cool. And I just want to say that I got to the point where I was satisfied, not alone. I didn't get there alone. I got there through lots of feedback, and I can't stress enough how important feedback is. Like my sound design on this video would be nothing without the feedback I got. And I believe great work is built upon feedback. So yeah, you don't need to do it alone. I'm really grateful to have people giving and receiving feedback. So I just wanted to say thank you to those guys. You know who you are. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Have a great one.